In today's tutorial, I'm going to show you how to crochet this beautiful little cardigan sweater, coat, or jacket for baby boys and girls between 3 and 6 months old. The stitch that I used to make this little cardigan sweater is the snowdrop crochet stitch. I made it to match the baby blanket that I showed you a few weeks ago. In the information box below, I'll go ahead and leave you the link to the baby blanket. Now, this little sweater, like I said, it's for 3 to 6 months, but you can easily make it smaller or bigger from a newborn size and up to 4 to 5 years old. In the information box below, I'll go ahead and leave you some information on how you can easily make it smaller or bigger, so be sure to check that out. And as always, if you prefer written pattern, check out my Etsy shop. I'll leave the link to my Etsy shop up here on the right hand side and in the information box below. Thank you so much for your support. Now, to make this little sweater, this is the yarn that I used. It's DK weight yarn. You can also use any number 3 yarn or 8 ply. Now, the main color is white. So in the color white, you're going to need about 153 grams, 17 grams in pink. So in total, 170 grams for the 3 to 6 month size. You will need less or more depending on the size that you make. You will also need 5 buttons. These buttons here are 14 millimeter size. You can also use 12, 13, or 14 like I did. Okay, let's get started, and thank you so much for watching. To make this little sweater, I'll be using this 3.5 millimeter crochet hook, and today I'm using this DK weight yarn. You can also use any number 3 yarn or 8 ply. At the beginning of the video, I showed you the yarn that I'm using, and I told you how much yarn I'm going to need for the size that we're making. Also, make sure to watch to the end of the tutorial, since that is where I'm going to give you the finished measurements of this little sweater. Okay, so to begin here, I have 58 chains. This chain without stretching, it's measuring about 12 inches, which is about 30.5 centimeters. Now, if your chain is off by 1 or 2 centimeters, it's okay. Continue. To continue with the first row, into the second chain from the hook, 1, 2, into this second chain here, I'm going to make a single crochet. Single crochet into the next chain, single crochet into the next, and so on. For this first row, this is all I'm going to do. 1 single crochet on each chain. At the end of this first row, I'm going to have 57 single crochets. I'll meet you at the end. I'm here at the end of this first row. This is where I did single crochets. I have a total of 57 single crochets. Now for row 2, I'm going to chain 1 and turn. Beginning on top of this first single crochet, make a single crochet. Now into the next single crochet, I'm going to make a shell. Each one of these shells is going to always consist of 2 double crochets, chain 1, single crochet. Again, skip 1 and into the next, make another shell. In total, I'm going to make 4. Skip 1 single crochet and into the next, make your third shell. Skip 1 single crochet and into the next, make the fourth shell. There, I have 4 shells. 1, 2, 3, 4. This here is for the first front panel. Now I'm going to make the first corner, so I'm going to skip 1 single crochet, and into the next I'm going to make a V-stitch. Each one of these V-stitches is always going to consist of a double crochet, chain 1, double crochet. Now before you continue, place a stitch marker in the center of this V-stitch. Now for the shoulders, I'm going to make a total of 4 shells, just like I did here. So I'm going to skip 1, and into the next, I'm going to make the first shell for the shoulders or the sleeves. Skip 1 and into the next, make the second shell. Skip 1 and into the next, make the third shell. Oops. Skip 1 and into the next, make the fourth shell. There, I have my 4 shells. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now skip 1 and into the next, make a V-stitch. This is the second corner. Now, place a stitch marker in the center of this V-stitch. And now we're going to continue for the back side. For the back side, I'm going to make a total of 8 shells. So same thing, skip 1 and into the next, make a shell. Skip 1 and into the next, the second shell, and so on until you have 8 shells for the back side. So continue, make these 8 shells, and then I'll come back and show you how to make the third corner. I finished making these 8 shells for the back side. We have 2, 4, 6, 8. Now we're going to make the third corner. Skip 1 single crochet and into the next, make a V-stitch. Place a stitch marker to mark the center of this V-stitch. And now we're going to continue for the shoulders. We're going to make 4 shells. So skip 1 and into the next, make a shell. Skip 1 and into the next, make the second shell. Skip 1 and into the next, make the third shell. Skip 1 and into the next, make the fourth shell. Okay, here are the 4 shells for the shoulder or the sleeve. Now we're going to make the fourth corner. Skip 1 and into the next, make a V-stitch. Place a stitch marker in the center of this V-stitch. And now we're going to make 4 shells for the second front panel. So skip 1 and into the next, make a shell. Skip 1 and into the next, make the second, and so on until you have 4 shells. Now here at the end, we're going to be left with 1 single crochet. So I will meet you right here to show you how we're going to finish this second row. I'm here at the end of this second row. Here's my last shell for the second front panel. I have 4 here. Now to finish at the end here, I have a single crochet. Here at the end, I'm going to make a single crochet. And this is how I finished the second row. Now at the end of this row, you should have 24 shells. Each one of the front panels has 4 shells. Each one of the shoulders or the sleeves here has 4 shells. And for the back side, I have 8 shells. And we have 4 corners. So that's a total of 24 shells with 4 corners. Now in the next rows, this is what we're going to do. We have our corners. We have 2 double crochets, double crochet number 1 and double crochet number 2 of the V-stitch, and in the center we have the chain space. What I'm going to do in the next row is, here, let me turn this. On top of the first double crochet here, I'm going to make a shell. Inside the chain space, I'm going to make a V-stitch, and into the second double crochet of the V-stitch here, I'm going to make a shell, so that from here on, we increase 1 stitch for the front panels, 2 stitches for the sleeves, and for the back side, 2 stitches as well, so that at the end of each row from here on, we are going to increase by 8 stitches. So let me show you. For the third row here, we always begin by chaining 2. We have the first shell. Into the chain space of the first shell, I'm going to make a shell. Now, these shells in between the corners will consist of 2 double crochets, 1 chain, and then a front post single crochet into the first double crochet. So they will be slightly different than these that we did here and the ones that we're going to increase. So let's continue into the second, make a shell again. So 2 double crochets, chain 1, and then a front post single crochet into the first double crochet. Same thing for the third shell, same thing for the fourth shell. There, I have my 4 shells for the front panel. Now I have the first corner. Like I said, we have double crochet number 1 and double crochet number 2 of the V-stitch. And then in the center, we have the chain space. So remove that stitch marker. On top of the first double crochet, I'm going to make a shell. So make 2 double crochets, chain 1, single crochet into this same stitch. Now notice that I'm not making a front post single crochet here because I have no way of doing a front post single crochet. So these increases, or these shells, will always consist of 2 double crochets, chain 1, and then a single crochet into the same space. In the next row, you will be able to work the front post because it'll be the extra shell. So now into the chain space, we make a V-stitch. Same thing, double crochet, chain 1, double crochet. Return your stitch marker to mark the center. And then on top of the second double crochet, you're going to make a shell. Don't forget, each V-stitch has 2 shells. These are the increases. And this is how each one of the corners should look like. We have a shell, a V-stitch in the chain space, and a shell into the second double crochet. Let me show you again. We have the next 4 shells for the shoulders. Into the first chain space of the first shell, make a shell. Into the next, same thing, 2 double crochets, chain 1, front post single crochet. Same thing into the third. And same thing for the fourth. Now we have the corner. Remove the stitch marker. We have 2 double crochets and a chain space. On top of the first double crochet, make a shell. 2 double crochets, chain 1, single crochet. In the chain space, make a V-stitch. Return your stitch marker to mark the center of the V-stitch. And into the second double crochet of the V-stitch, make a shell. And this is how you're going to work each one of the corners. And the shells in between, you already know. You just make a shell, which consists of 2 double crochets, chain 1, and a front post single crochet. And that's how you're going to continue for the rest of this third row. I will meet you at the end. I'm here at the end of the third row. I have my last shell for this front panel. Here I have 5. We have the increase that we did, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now to finish here at the end, we have a single crochet. Here at the end, make a half double crochet. And this is how I finish this third row. Now at the end of this third row, you should have a total of 32 shells. Each one of the front panels has 5 shells. Each one of the shoulders has 6 shells, and for the back side you should have 10 shells. So that's a total of 32 shells at the end of this third row, and we have 4 corners. Each corner has a V-stitch. Now for row 4, start with 2 chains and turn. Now we have these 5 shells, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. In the chain space of each shell, we make a shell. And these shells always consist of 2 double crochets, 1 chain, front post single crochet. So that's 1. Into the next chain space of the next shell, make the second shell. Into the next, that's 3. Into the next, that's 4. Into the next, that's 5. And now we have the V-stitch. Remove the stitch marker. We have 2 double crochets. We have double crochet number 1, a chain space, and double crochet number 2. On top of the first double crochet, make a shell. And these shells consist of 2 double crochets, chain 1, single crochet on top of this first double crochet. Now in the chain space, you're going to make a V-stitch again. Return the stitch marker to mark the V-stitch, and into the second double crochet of the corner here in the V-stitch, make a shell. There. So each corner will be worked in the same way. On top of the first double crochet, you're going to make a shell. In the chain space, you're going to make a V-stitch, and in the second double crochet, you're going to make a shell. Now we have the next shells here for the shoulder. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So here in the chain space of each shell, you're going to make a shell, and these shells have front post single crochets. That's 1, 5, and 6. There. Now we have our second corner. Remove the stitch marker, and in the first double crochet of this V-stitch, make a shell. In the chain space of the V-stitch, make a V-stitch. Return the stitch marker. Now we have the second double crochet, make a shell. There. And then you're going to continue and work these shells for the back side in the exact same way as I showed you here. And that's how each corner should be worked. Continue, finish this 4th row. I will meet you at the end. I'm here at the end of the 4th row. Now to finish, here at the end we have the 2 chains. Into the second chain here, make a half double crochet. And this is how I finish the 4th row. At the end of this row, I have a total of 40 shells. Each one of the front panels has 6 shells, and each one of the shoulders or the sleeve here has 8 shells. And for the back side, I have 12 shells. So that's a total of 40 shells at the end of this 4th row. Now for row 5, I'm going to chain 2 and turn. Now from here on, we're going to repeat row 4 and row 5. I'm going to show you row 5 right now. So chain 2, turn, and into each one of the chain spaces of each shell, I'm going to work a shell. And these shells will always consist of 2 double crochets, chain 1, and a front post single crochet. So I'm going to do the same for each one of these 6 shells for this front panel. The difference is going to come in the corners. We're not going to increase in this row. There, I have my 6 shells for this front panel, 2, 4, 6. Now in the chain space of the V-stitch, I'm going to remove the stitch marker, and here I'm going to make a single crochet, 2 chains, and single crochet. Now return your stitch marker. And now I'm going to continue and work the next 8 shells for the sleeve in the same way as I showed you for the front panel. So 2 double crochets, chain 1, and then a front post single crochet. Now continue along this way, making sure to do the same thing on each one of the corners. just make a single crochet, 2 chains, and then a single crochet. At the end of this 5th row, I'm going to have 40 shells as well. So finish, I'll meet you at the end. I'm here at the end of the 5th row. To finish here, into the 2nd chain, make a half double crochet. Now at the end of this 5th row, I have 40 shells. I have 6 shells for each one of the front panels, 8 shells for each one of the sleeves, and 12 shells for the back side. In this row, we have not increased. So now for row 6, I'm going to chain 2 and turn. In this 6th row, I am going to increase, so let me show you. Now beginning into the first shell, I'm going to make a shell. So 2 double crochets, chain 1, and then a front post single crochet. Here are the 6 shells for this front panel, 2, 4, 6. Now we have the first corner, remove the stitch marker, and into the first single crochet right on top, I'm going to make a shell. So here I'm going to make 2 double crochets, 1 chain, and then a single crochet. Now in the chain 2 space, I'm going to make a V-stitch. So make a double crochet, chain 1, double crochet. Return the stitch marker. And now into the second single crochet, I'm going to make a shell. And this is how I'm going to work each one of the corners. And then for the shells in between, you're going to do exactly the same thing I showed you here. So continue, finish this 6th row. I will meet you at the end. I'm here at the end of the 6th row. Now here to finish, into the 2nd chain, make a half double crochet. And this is how I finish this row. At the end of this 6th row, you should have a total of 48 shells. Each one of the front panels has 7 shells. Each one of the sleeves has 10 shells. And for the back side, I have 14 shells. In this 6th row, we have increased. So now for row 7, I'm going to chain 2 and turn. In this 7th row, I'm not going to increase, so I'm going to do the same thing I did for the 5th row. So for each one of these shells of this front panel, I'm going to make a shell until I come to the first corner, where I'm going to show you what you need to do. There, I have these 7 shells for the front panel. Now I have the V-stitch, remove the stitch marker, and inside the chain space of this V-stitch, make a single crochet, 2 chains, single crochet. Return your stitch marker to mark the chain 2 space, and then continue along and work each one of the shells exactly in the same way how I did them here. Now continue and finish this 7th row. I'll meet you at the end. I'm here at the end of the 7th row. To finish this row into the 2nd chain here at the end, make a half double crochet. And this is how I finished the 7th row. In this row, we did not increase, so I have the same number of shells as I did for row 6, which is 48. Each one of the front panels has 7 shells. Each one of the sleeves has 10 shells. And for the back side, I have 14 shells. Now for row 8, I'm going to chain 2 and turn. In this row, I'm going to increase, so here I'm going to work 1 shell into each one of these 7 shells for this front panel. And then I'm going to show you how you're going to work each one of the corners. I finished making these 7 shells, 2, 4, 6, 7. Now we have the first corner, remove the stitch marker, and on top of the first single crochet, make a shell. In the chain 2 space, make a V-stitch. And in the second single crochet of this corner, make a shell. And this is how you're going to work each one of the corners. And then for the shells in between, you're just going to do them exactly how I did them here. Now continue, finish this 8th row. I will meet you at the end. I'm here at the end of the 8th row. In this row we did increases. I have a total of 56 shells at the end of this row. Now each one of the front panels has 8 shells. Each one of the sleeves has 12, and for the back side I have 16. Here to finish the row, we're going to go into the second chain and make a half double crochet. Now for row 9, I'm going to chain 2 and turn. For row 9, I'm not going to increase, so here I'm going to work a shell into each one of these 8 shells. So beginning into the first chain space, I'm going to make the first shell. There, I have 8 shells for this front panel, 2, 4, 6, 8. Now remove the stitch marker, and inside the chain space of the V-stitch, make a single crochet, 2 chains, single crochet. And that's how you're going to work each one of the corners for this 9th row. And then for the shells in between, you're just going to make them exactly how I did them here for the front panel. Continue. I will meet you at the end of this 9th row. I'm here at the end of the 9th row. To finish the row, go into the second chain here at the end and make a half double crochet. And this is how I finished this 9th row. In this row we did not increase, so I have a total of 56 shells. Each one of the front panels has 8 shells. Each one of the sleeves has 12, and for the back side I have 16. So that's a total of 56 shells. Now the yoke is done, so what I'm going to do next here is divide the sleeves. But first, this measurement here right across, it's measuring about 3.5 inches, which is about 9 centimeters. So to continue here, this is going to be the first row. We're going to start counting rows. So for this first row here, chain 2 and turn. Now here what I'm going to do is I'm going to work these 8 shells, and then I'll show you what we're going to do once we get to the first corner. There, I finished making these 8 shells, 2, 4, 6, 8. Now we have the first corner. Remove this stitch marker, and into the chain 2 space of this corner, I'm going to make a shell. 2 double crochets, chain 1, 1 single crochet. Now to separate the first sleeve, chain 3, skip 12 shells, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. and into the chain 2 space of the next corner, make a shell. There. Now, if you want to add more chains here under the sleeve, you can. There is no specific multiple here, but what I would do is either do 5 or 7 here if you want to add more. That way, you add 2 or 3 more extra shells in the next row. I plan to only add 1 extra shell here in the next row, so that's why I chained 3. Now for the back side, we're just going to continue and work 1 shell. For the back side, like I said, I have 16. So I'm going to make these 16 shells. So I will meet you right here. This is the 3rd corner to show you how to separate the 2nd sleeve. I finished making the shells for the back side. Now I have 17 shells, including this one here that we did in this corner. So that's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 17. Now into this next corner, I'm going to make 1 more shell for the back side, so that in total I have 18 shells here for the back side. There. Now to divide the 2nd sleeve, chain 3. Like I said, you can chain more. That would be up to you. Skip 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. 12 shells, and into the 4th corner, make a shell. There. 2 double crochets, 1 chain, single crochet. Now continue and work 1 shell for each one of these 8 shells for the front panel. I will meet you at the end of this 1st row to show you what we need to do next. I'm here at the end of this 1st row. To finish, go into the 2nd chain here at the end and make a half double crochet. And this is how I finished this 1st row, where we have separated the sleeves. Now each one of the front panels has 9 shells, and for the back side I have 18 shells. So that's a total of 36 shells at the end of this 1st row, with 3 chains under each sleeve. Now for the 2nd row, I'm going to chain 2 and turn. Now beginning into the 1st chain space of this shell, I'm going to make a shell, and I'm going to do the same thing for each one of these shells for the front panel until I come here under the sleeve. So I will meet you right here. I finished making these 9 shells for the 1st front panel. We have 2, 4, 6, 8, 9. Now we have the 3 chains here under the sleeve. I'm going to skip the 1st chain, and into the 2nd chain, which is the middle stitch here, I'm going to make a shell. So I'm going to make 2 double crochets, 1 chain, and then 1 single crochet into this same stitch. Now you're going to do exactly the same thing I did under the 2nd sleeve. In the 2nd chain, you're going to do this shell. Now to continue along, we have the 1st shell for the back side. In this chain space here, I'm going to make a shell, and then do the same thing for each one of the shells for the back side. And like I said, here under the 2nd sleeve, in the 2nd chain, you're just going to do a shell exactly how I did it here, and then continue and finish the shells for the 2nd front panel. I will meet you at the end of this 2nd row. I'm here at the end of this 2nd row. To finish the row, we always go here at the end into the 2nd chain and make a half double crochet. And this is how I finished this 2nd row with a total of 38 shells. We added an extra shell here under each sleeve. So from here on, we're going to continue and work these 38 shells for the body of the little sweater. So all you're going to do here to begin each row is chain 2 and turn, and into each one of the shells, you're going to make a shell exactly in the same way how we've been working these shells. So 2 double crochets, 1 chain, and then a front post single crochet. At the end, like I said, you're always going to have 38 shells, and to finish, you're just going to go here into the 2nd chain and make a half double crochet, then chain 2, and then repeat the same thing for each row from here on. Now, I'm not sure how many rows I'm going to do here for the body, but continue watching. I will let you know exactly how many rows I'm going to do. Now, before we continue, place a stitch marker here to mark the front of the little sweater. This row, the third row, is being worked on the wrong side. So this here is the right side. So place a stitch marker. That way we know from here on that this is going to be the right side. So again, row 3 is being worked on the wrong side. Continue, let's work the body, and then I'll come back and show you what we need to do next. I finished making the body of the little sweater. Now in total, from here where we divided the sleeves up to the last row that I did a total of 25 rows, and it's measuring from the top of the shoulder to the end of the last row. This part here is measuring about 27 centimeters, which is about 10.5 inches. Now what we're going to do next is we're going to do the hem. Now the last row that I did was worked on the right side, so this next row here is going to be worked from the wrong side. So right on top of the last half double crochet here at the end of row 25, insert your hook, grab a loop. I'm going to use this pink yarn here. I'm going to change yarn color. If you're not changing yarn color, then just go ahead, chain 1, and then make a half double crochet on top of that first stitch. So here I'm going to chain 1, and right into this same stitch here I'm going to make a half double crochet. Now into each one of the chain spaces of each one of these shells I'm going to make 2 half double crochets. So beginning into the first one, make 2 half double crochets. In the chain space of the next shell, make 2 half double crochets, and so on. This is how I'm going to work this row. This would be row 26. So continue. Let's finish this part, and then I'll come back and show you what we need to do next. I'm here at the end of row 26. Now to finish here at the end, into the second chain, make a half double crochet. And this is how I finished this row. At the end of this row, I have a total of 78 half double crochets. Now for row 27, I'm going to chain 1 and I'm going to turn. Beginning on top of this first half double crochet here, make a half double crochet. Now into the next, make a front post half double crochet. Into the next, back post half double crochet. Front post half double crochet into the next, back post half double crochet into the next. And this is how I'm going to continue for row 27, just alternating between a front post and a back post half double crochet. Continue. I'll meet you at the end of this row. I'm here at the end of row 27. Now at the end here on top of the last stitch, make a half double crochet. And this is how I finish row 27 with a total of 78 stitches. Now for row 28, chain 1 and turn. In this row we're going to repeat the same thing. So beginning on top of the first half double crochet, make a half double crochet. Now into the next, this is a front post, so make a front post half double crochet. The next one is a back post, so make a back post half double crochet. Front post half double crochet into the next, back post half double crochet into the next, and so on. Continue like this for row 28. I will meet you at the end. I'm here at the end of row 28. Now to finish here on top of the last stitch, make a half double crochet. And this is how I finish this row with 78 stitches at the end of this row. And this is how this looks here. Now the last row that I did here for the hem, it was worked on the wrong side. So now what we're going to do is this front panel here. So we're going to go right here. Don't cut your yarn or anything. We're just going to continue with the same yarn along this side. So this row that I'm going to do here for this front panel is going to be worked on the wrong side. So chain 1 here, and at the end here where I did the half double crochet into this space, make a half double crochet. Half double crochet at the end of the next row, half double crochet at the end of the next. So here I have 3 half double crochets because we did 3 rows here for the hem. Now we have this. Now at the end of each row here for the body, we have 2 chains or a half double crochet. We're going to make 1 half double crochet at the end here of these rows for the body. So 1 half double crochet all the way to the top like this. So remember, we have the half double crochet, so make 1 half double crochet at the end, and then at the end where we have the 2 chains, same thing. This is how I'm going to work this row. So continue. I will meet you here at the top to show you what we need to do next. I'm here at the top of this left front panel. I did a total of 39 half double crochets. My last half double crochet I did here into the row of chains. So now for row 2, I'm going to chain 1 and turn. Here I'm going to work a half double crochet on top of the first half double crochet, and then I'm going to work a front post half double crochet into the next, back post half double crochet into the next, front post half double crochet into the next, and so on. This part is the same how we worked the hem. So continue, finish this side, just alternating between front post and back post half double crochets. I will meet you here at the end of the second row. I finished making the second row here for this left front panel. Now here at the end, on top of the last stitch, I did a half double crochet, cut my yarn and pass my yarn through this last loop, and this side here is done. Now we're going to do the same thing here for the right side. So for the right side, we're going to start at the bottom. We're going to go into this last row here of half double crochets. So right at the end, insert your hook right there and grab a loop. Now chain 1, and right into the same space here, make a half double crochet. Now half double crochet at the end of the next row, and a half double crochet at the end of the next row. So here I have 3 half double crochets because I have 3 rows here for the hem. Now here at the end for the body, we had either a half double crochet or 2 chains. We're going to make 1 half double crochet at the end of each row, like this. So continue like this all the way to the top of this first row. I will meet you right here to show you what we need to do next. I finished making these half double crochets along the right front panel. I have 39 half double crochets up to here. Now for row 2, I'm going to chain 1 and turn. Now beginning on top of the first half double crochet, make a half double crochet. Now into the next, make a front post half double crochet. Into the next, back post half double crochet. Front post half double crochet into the next, and so on. This is how I'm going to work this second row for the right front panel, which is exactly how we did the left front panel. Continue, finish this row. I will meet you here at the end. I finished the second row here for the right front panel. Here at the end, all I did was just make a half double crochet on top of the last stitch, cut my yarn and pass my yarn through this last loop, and the front panels are done, and this is how it looks. Now, I did not make any buttonholes because the spaces in between the rows here are big enough for buttons to fit through. I normally use 13, 14, or even 15 millimeter size buttons. At the end of the video, I'll show you the buttons that I'm going to use for mine, and I'll tell you what size buttons I'm going to use. Remember, you can make this little sweater for boys or girls. If you're making it for girls, this is where you're going to put your buttons, and this will be the buttonhole side. For boys, it's the opposite. This is where you're going to put the buttons, and this is going to be the buttonhole side. Now, what I'm going to do next is the neckline. To do the neckline, I'm going to go here to this right side, right on top of this last stitch right here. Grab a loop, bring a loop through, chain 1, and make a half double crochet here into this first row here of the right front panel. In the next row of the right front panel, make another half double crochet. So here I have 2. Now along the neckline, what we're going to do is 1 half double crochet for each chain, like this, all around. 1 half double crochet. Continue like this all around the neckline. I will meet you right here at this other end to show you how we're going to do the second row. I'm here at this other end of the neckline. I did my last half double crochet here at the end of this last row for this side of the front panel. Now I have a total of 61 half double crochets. If you have 1 or 2 stitches less or more, it's okay. Now here, if you want to leave the neckline like this with with just one row, you can. The important thing here is that we don't make the neckline too tight. Otherwise, it's going to be too tight around the baby's neck, and we don't want that. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to make one more row, but I'm going to make sure to make these stitches nice and loose so that this part here is not too tight. So for the second row, I'm going to chain one, and beginning on top of the first half double crochet, make a half double crochet. Now into the second, make a front post half double crochet. Into the next, back post half double crochet. Again, I'm making these stitches nice and loose. Into the next, front post half double crochet. Into the next, back post half double crochet, and so on. This is how I'm going to work this second row all around the neckline. At the end of the second row, I'm also going to have 61 stitches. Now this row, again, it's optional. You can just leave it with just one row. Now I'm going to continue like this, so I will meet you here at this other end. I finished the second row here for the neckline. At the end, I made my last half double crochet, cut my yarn, and passed my yarn through that last loop, and the neckline is all done, and this is how it looks. Now what we're going to do next is the sleeves. I already went ahead and did this side. You're going to do it exactly in the same way. So let me show you how we're going to do this. Now we're going to go here to the left side. This here is the left side. And this first row is going to be worked from the wrong side. Again, you're going to do this exactly in the same way when you have to do the right side. So we're going to go here right under the sleeve. Right under the sleeve, we have these two chain spaces. These are the chains that were left when we separated the sleeves. And then in the second row, we did this shell there. So we have two chain one spaces. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go into the left chain space, and I'm going to leave this here. So we're going to insert our hook right here into this first chain space, grab a loop, bring it through, and chain two. Now right into this same space, make a double crochet, chain one, and then a single crochet. Here I have the first shell. Now I have the first shell out of the 12 that we left for the sleeve. What I'm going to do is, because if I go right into the first chain space of this first shell, there's going to be a gap, and I don't want a gap. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a double crochet decrease. So yarn over, insert your hook into this chain space of this corner. This is where we separated the sleeves. So insert your hook there, grab a loop, take two loops off, leave two loops on the hook, yarn over, and now go into the first chain space of the first shell and make your double crochet where you're going to close through these three loops. And that way you're going to close this double crochet and this one. So this here does not count. Now finish the shell for this first shell. So make another double crochet, chain one, and then a front post single crochet. Now this is optional. If you don't mind there being a gap here, then just go straight into the first chain space and do your first shell. Now into the next chain space, make the second shell. So two double crochets, chain one, and then a front post single crochet. Remember, for the sleeves, we have 12 shells. So continue all around, finish making these shells until you come here to the last one. I will meet you here at the end of this first row to show you what we need to do next. I'm here at this other end of the sleeve. I finished making these 12 shells for the sleeve, plus the one that we did in that first chain space. I have 13 shells. Now here at the end, I have my last chain space. So here what I'm going to do is there's a big gap between this last shell and the first shell. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go right into this corner and I'm going to make a double crochet decrease. So yarn over, insert your hook into this corner, grab a loop, take two loops off, leave two loops on the hook. Now yarn over and go into this last chain space and make a double crochet where you close through these three loops. There, and here's the double crochet decrease, that way there's no big gap there. And now just finish your last shell. So make a double crochet, chain one, and then a single crochet. Now at the end of this first row for the first sleeve, I have 14 shells. To finish, go on top of the second chain here at the beginning, this is the first shell, and make a slip stitch. And this is how I finished the first row with 14 shells. Now we're going to turn, don't chain or anything, just turn for the second row. And here to begin each row, you are always going to go into this first single crochet and make a slip stitch. And then into the chain space, make a slip stitch. This here is the first shell. So now chain two, make a double crochet, chain one, and then a front post single crochet. There, here's the first shell, and then into each one of the remaining shells in the chain space, you make shells. So 2 double crochets, chain one, and then a front post single crochet. And that's how you're going to continue all around. So continue. I will meet you right here. This is the last shell. Here I'm going to make a decrease. So I will meet you right here to show you how we're going to finish the second row. I'm here at the end of the second row. Here's my last shell. Up to here I have 13 shells. I have the last shell right here. So here what I'm going to do is I'm going to decrease this shell so that from here on for the sleeve I continue with only 13 shells. So to do this here, I'm going to yarn over, insert your hook into the chain space of this last shell, take 2 loops off, leave 2 loops on the hook. Now go into the second chain here into the first shell and make a slip stitch where you close these 2 loops. And this is how I finish row 2 with a total of 13 shells. Now this decrease here is optional. You can continue with the 14 shells. The only thing is that it's going to be a bit wider, but if you're okay with that, then that's fine. That's okay. You can continue with the 14 shells. I'm only going to continue with 13, so that's why I decreased this last shell there. So now to continue here and make the third row, we just turn, don't chain or anything, just turn. And here we have the first shell. We have the single crochet, a chain space, and then 2 double crochets. Right on top of the single crochet, make a slip stitch, and in the chain space, make a slip stitch. So we always make 2 slip stitches to begin the row, and then we chain 2, and right into the same chain space, make a double crochet, chain 1, and then a front post single crochet. So here's the first shell for the third row, and from here on all you're going to do is just go into each chain space and make your shell. So continue like this all around for this third row. I will meet you here at the end to show you once again how to end each row and how to begin each row from here on so that you can continue on your own. I'm here at the end of the third row. I have my last shell, so into this last chain space here, I'm going to make my last shell. So 2 double crochets, chain 1, and then a front post single crochet. So here is the last shell at the end of this third row. I have 13 shells. To finish each row, you always go here to the beginning. This is the first shell. Right into the second chain, insert your hook and make a slip stitch. Now to begin each row, you always turn and you always make 2 slip stitches. The first one is on top of the single crochet, and then the second one is into the chain space of the first shell. Now you chain 2 here and make a double crochet, chain 1, and then a front post single crochet. So here's the first shell, and to finish you always go into this second chain and make a slip stitch. So for row 4 all you do is just make shells all around. From here on we are always going to have 13 shells. If you decide to continue with the 14, then you're going to have 14 shells. And that's how you're going to continue all around. At the end, all you do is just go into the second chain, make a slip stitch, turn, and then make those 2 slip stitches, then chain 2 and make the first shell in that chain space, and then continue in the same way. So for the sleeve here, you're going to do a total of 24 rows, and then we're going to do the cuff. So continue, finish these 24 rows, and then I'll come back and show you what we need to do next. I finished making the sleeve. I did a total of 24 rows. At the end of the video, I will leave you the finished measurement. Now, what we're going to do here is the cuff. So to do the cuff, at the end of row 24, I just joined to the beginning with a slip stitch, cut my yarn, passed my yarn through that last loop. Row 24 was worked on the right side. Now, to start the cuff, I'm going to go into this first shell in the chain space. This first row of the cuff is going to be worked from the right side. So here, bring a loop through. I'm going to make the cuff in pink. So I'm going to chain one, and right into this same space here, I'm going to make 2 half double crochets. Now jump to the next shell in the chain space of the next shell, make 2 half double crochets. So this is how we're going to work the cuff. In the chain space of each shell, you're going to make 2 half double crochets for this first row. So like this all around. 2 half double crochets. Continue, finish this first row. I will meet you here at the end. I'm here at the end of this first row for the cuff. This is where I did half double crochets all around. I have 26. Now to finish, go on top of the first half double crochet and join with a slip stitch. Now for rows 2 and 3, I'm going to chain 1, and beginning into this first half double crochet, I'm going to make a front post half double crochet. Next one, back post half double crochet. Next one, front post half double crochet, back post half double crochet, and so on. For this row, this is all I'm going to do. I'm just going to alternate between a front post and a back post half double crochet all the way to the end. Now at the end of each row, I'm going to have 26 stitches, and to finish, I'm just going to go on top of the first half double crochet, join with a slip stitch, chain 1, and then repeat the same thing for the third row. Now continue, finish the cuff, and then I'll come back and show you the finished little sweater, and then I'll give you the finished measurements. I finished making the third row here for the cuff. At the end, I just joined to the beginning with a slip stitch, cut my yarn, and passed my yarn through this last loop, and the sleeve is all done. Continue watching. I'll give you the finished measurements in a little bit. Now, when you have to do the other side, just do it exactly in the same way. So this little sweater is all done, and this is how it looks. I went ahead and attached my buttons. These buttons here are 12mm size, and these buttons I purchased from Hobby Lobby. Now, you can also use 12, 13, 14mm size buttons. The button holes are the spaces in between the rows, like I said when we did this side here, so you can add as many buttons as you want. I only added 5. So now let me give you the finished measurement. Now from the top of the neckline to the end here of the sleeve, it's measuring about 28 centimeters, which is about 11 inches. From under the sleeve to the end of the sleeve, it's measuring about 19 centimeters, which is about 7.5 inches. This measurement here, right across, it's measuring about 12 centimeters, which is about 4.75 inches. The total length from the top of the neckline to the bottom here, it's measuring about 29.5 centimeters, which is about 11.75 inches. And the chest measurement, just the top, it's measuring about 27 centimeters, which is about 10.5 inches. So based on these measurements, this little cardigan sweater, coat, or jacket is for baby boys and girls between 3 and 6 months old. You can certainly make it smaller or bigger. In the information box below, I'll go ahead and leave you some information on how you can easily make it smaller or bigger. I'd say from a newborn size and up to 4 to 5 years old. To open the information box, all you have to do is just click the title of the video. Now, I have the matching little blanket in the information box. I'll go ahead and leave you the link as well. Okay, so this was today's tutorial. I hope you like it. Thank you so much for watching. Until next time.